So I think now we have the final speaker of the session as well as the symposium, Vaibhav, who's going to tell us how to get to black hole microstates using a bottom-up approach.
Okay, so hello everybody. So I am Vaibhav Varman, and so the topic of my presentation is a bottom-up approach to black hole microstate. And this presentation is based on two papers. First one is a smooth horizon without a smooth horizon, which I have written with Suchetan Das and Chetan Krishnan, which is my supervisor. And the second paper, which we recently put on archive, a bottom-up approach to black hole microstate, which is the title of my presentation, which I have written with Chetan Krishnan. So the outline of my presentation is, first I will give you a little bit of motivation. Then I will talk about what is quantum horizon is. Then the classical limit of the quantum horizon and the emergent smoothness of the horizon from that. Then the Mandelsina information paradox and its resolution. Then the mechanism for the emergent interior and how black holes are different from the weakly coupled thermal system. So as we know, we can understood the entropy of a black hole in terms of the microstate counting. And black hole microstate should not contain any notion of horizon by definition. If they does contain any notion of horizon, then there will be a problem of the unaccounted entropy. So we have the previous understanding of the BPSP black hole microstate, which are extremal and supersymmetric. In string theory, conventional Fuzzy-Bose program try to construct the black hole microstate that are at zero temperature, which are extremal. So constructing black hole microstate in string theory is a top-down approach. So in string theory, how to construct the black hole microstate for a generic black hole which is far from extremality is not clear yet. So we can ask a question: is there is a bottom-up way to engineer black hole microstate for a generic black hole which are at non-zero temperature? So to answer this question, we have some minimal set of demands. First one is we would like to work in the Lorentzian setting. Second one, we want to work for a generic black hole which is far from extremality, which are at non-zero temperature. Third one is we want to work in the ADS-CFT because this is a theory where we have some understanding of the state in the theory. And the fourth one is the last one is we want to work with the large ADS black hole because this is the black hole which remains in thermal equilibrium with its own radiation. As we know, we know that the fact that the dual to the microstate of the large ADS black hole are some heavy state in the CFT. So what can be the bottom-up way to engineer such a heavy CFT microstate in the bulk? Again, we can ask a question: should we completely give up the metric-based description? And the answer is no, because the far from the black hole, the effective field theory work fine. So one can notice here is that the culprit is the horizon because it gives rise to all the problems like the information paradox. So instead of giving up the metric-based description, we give up the horizon. So clearly giving up the horizon means that we are clearly working with the state horizon or the quantum horizon, which is another name of the state horizon. So now let's have a look what quantum horizon basically is. So first let's understand what state horizon is. So state horizon basically means that we are putting a cutoff or boundary, sometimes also called brick wall, outside the horizon. So by definition, state horizon requires finite Planck length on finite n. So it is best viewed as a object in UV complete theory instead of an object in a effective field theory. So hence the name quantum horizon. So quantum horizon is a proxy for the UV complete bulk description near the horizon. Far from the horizon, UV physics can be replaced with the semi-classical physics. So this is the reason that we are not completely giving up the metric-based description. So now let's have a look the classical limit of the quantum horizon and the emergence of the smoothness of the horizon from that. So to see that, we first will do the calculation of a two-point function in a typical state. So this equation 1 is the generic excited state in the Fock space. This Fock space is created by the excitation of a scalar field on top of the state horizon vacuum. So energy of this mass state we put to be the mass equal to the mass of the black hole. The scalar field mode expansion is given by equation 2, where u and j's are the modes. And the bulk two-point function calculation equation can be calculated using this equation 3. This is the standard calculation. So here I am just suppressing the calculation. So now from this bulk two-point function, we can take this limit and get the boundary two-point function. This is the standard way of getting the boundary answer from the bulk answer in ADS-CFT. So now if we take epsilon goes to 0 limit, which is equivalent to gn goes to 0 limit or n tends to infinite limit. So in this limit, our state horizon two-point function becomes the exactly Hartree-Fock two-point function. Now there are some reasons which are associated to the emergence of this. There are some reasons that we can associate to the emergence of this Hartree-Fock correlator, that the horizon is also emergent from this. So what are the reasons for the emergent smoothness of the horizon? First one is that we are demanding suitably smooth boundary condition at the horizon is how one usually obtains the Hartree-Fock correlator. The second one is that if one gets the thermal correlator, that can be rewritten in terms of the thermophile double, which if one gets the thermophile double, one can obtain the modular translated interior operators and reconstruct interior times. This is the standard result by Hong Liu and Samuel Lechereau. Third one is that from the Hartle-Lewin correlator we can find out the quasi-normal modes. We can read from the quasi-normal modes from the Hartle-Lewin correlator. These quasi-normal modes are the ingoing modes at the horizon. So with all these three regions, we can say that from the UV physics we can to calculate the 2-point function, and from the UV physics we take the effective field theory limit, which gives us the Hartle-Lewin correlator. And Hartle-Lewin correlator is related to the smoothness of the horizon, so the smoothness is also emergent from that. Now let's have a look what is Maldacen information paradox and its resolution. So the paradox is that the 2-point function of the probe operators in the bulk decays forever in time, but at the boundary it is a quasi-periodic function of time. So in ADS-CFT, if at the boundary the 2-point function is periodic function of time, it should have the same behavior in the bulk also. But it is not the case. In the bulk, the Hartle-Lewin correlator have this form e to the power minus pi t by beta. So at large t it decays forever in time. But so this is the paradox. At the boundary it is a quasi-periodic, but in the bulk it decays forever in time. So this is the paradox. And the resolution of the paradox exists at finite n. So what happens at finite n? If we, at finite n of finite Gn, there are exponentially separate correction in the entropy of the black hole to the 2-point function in a typical state. And this exponentially separate correction becomes important at late times and the result Maldacen information paradox. So the resolution is that at finite Gn, if we take t goes to infinite limit, then due to the finite variant correction that kicks in at late times, the Hartle-Lewin correlator doesn't decay and there is no paradox. So in summary, the paradox is that if you first take epsilon goes to 0 limit, this epsilon goes to 0 limit is related to the smoothness of the horizon. Then take t goes to infinite limit, then a 2-point function decays forever in time. And the resolution is that if you first keep epsilon to be finite, which captures the UV physics, and then take t goes to infinite limit, then there is no paradox because this exponentially suppressed corrections kicks in at late times. So let's have a look at the mechanism for the emergent interior. So basically we are working with the philosophy of the Balasubramanian metal paper, and their philosophy works for all the thermal systems. So here we are what they are doing, they are considering the microcanonical sliver of state around some heavy states, and then they choose some random set of subset of states from the sliver and call it a base set. So these base states are nearly orthogonal, and the action of the light operator, which is they are calling simple operator, on the base state will create a small Hilbert space H alpha on top of the base state. The ETS type of statement says that the action of the simple operator is given by this, where the right hand side, as we can see, is independent of the alphas, where alphas are the base set that we have chosen from the microcanonical sliver. So it means that the action of the simple operator is universal on all the base states. So we can write O simple as O unu, means universal, and H alpha can also be written as H universal. So we define a state cat alpha comma I, which belongs to the universal Hilbert space, where alpha is the base state and I is the excited state on top of that. And because of the universality of the action of the simple operator on any base state, we can write this alpha comma I cat to be as the tensor product of the cat alpha tensor product cat I. So simple operator can also be written as identity times O unu. So it means that it acts trivially on all the base states and universally on the Hilbert space. So with all this information, we can write the Hilbert space in the tensor product form. So Hilbert space can be written as HSS times H unu, where HSS contains the alpha, which contains the information of the interior of the thermal system, as H unu contains the fine-grained information of the small fluctuation on top of the any base state. Now the realization of their philosophy in our setting. So basically we are working with the state horizon and the excitation of the scalar field on top of that. So we are considering the microcanonical sliver of eigenstate at the mass of the black hole created by the excitation of the scalar field. And these eigenstates are guaranteed to be orthogonal. So we choose the set of base states from the microcanonical sliver. The simple operator in our case is free scalar field, which is dual to the single trace operator and their derivatives at the boundary. So this scalar field acts on the base state and creates a small Hilbert space. The one important result in our case is that the endpoint function in any base eigenstate factorize thermally in the larger limit, where n is small enough so that we can ignore the back reaction. And this is result is important because this thermal factorization is the realization of the universality in the universal code subspace H unu. So this is the that we have defined previously. So again we can write Hilbert space to be the HSS times H unu. Now HSS contains the typical state of the black hole microstate. So this is the mechanical way of seeing that this HSS actually contains the information of the interior of any thermal system. In our case, this black hole is a thermal system, so this contains the information of the interior of the black hole. So all in all, these highly excited typical Poiret state are the candidate of the black hole microstates. So we can ask a question how black holes are different, because their philosophy work for all the thermal systems, and black hole is also a thermal system. So how the black holes are different from the weakly coupled thermal system? So there is a large and analytic continuation that exists in the larger limit. So what we do to see that, what we do, we calculate the state-Hydrogen 2-point correlator in the bulk, and in the effective field theory limit, which is the epsilon goes to 0 limit or the n goes to infinite limit, this 2-point correlator becomes the exactly Hartle-Lagrange correlator, right? So we can write this Hartle-Lagrange correlator in the Kruskal coordinate and analytically continue this into the interior. So this this Kruskal analytic continuation which exists on the larger limit is the reason that we are saying that this only exists for the black hole. This doesn't exist for the, we don't know whether this, we haven't seen right now that whether there is some kind of analytic continuation also exists for the other thermal systems also. But this large and analytic continuation which take us into the interior of the black hole only exists for the black hole, but only in the larger limit. At finite time there is no such type of analytic continuation. So this is this large and analytic continuation. This is what makes black hole different from the other weakly coupled thermal systems. And okay, this is all from my side, and thank you for your attention.
Time for questions.
What was the argument you used in eigenstate thermalization hypothesis for simple operators? What did you use
so
that?
basically, if so any simple operator means there's some light operator, right? So these factorize thermally in any heavy state. Not factorize thermally. Basically, the expectation value of this simple operator in some heavy state gives the thermal value. Basically, that's the right hand side of this. That's what we are getting in the right hand side. So this is the standard statement. Of the eigenstate thermalization.
Other questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, let's thank Vaibhav.